Converging channels, unscripted conversations. The idea for this project has been simmering in the back of my head and heart for a long time. I'm so pleased to now bring it forward. The power of connecting through the heart cannot be underestimated. If COVID has taught us one thing, and it has taught us many things, to truly connect person to person, individual to individual, to speak from the heart and to listen through the heart is something so fundamentally human. I am so pleased to bring this project to fruition with the help of dear friends and colleagues of mine. May it inspire you to connect through the heart. Enjoy. Today, I'd like to introduce my friend Gail Marks Teevan, a fellow coach. We attended coaching school 10 plus years ago, an experienced massage therapist who has written recently an ebook about being free of pain. Welcome to our first session of Converging Channels, Unscripted Conversations. Hello, Gail. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm so glad to connect with you. I am well, and it's the highlight of my day to meet with you and to connect with a fellow coach and a person who has lots of experience in your field in helping people to get to know themselves so that they can overcome any limitations that they feel they've been wrestling with in the field that you have so much knowledge in.
That's a wonderful way to say what I do.
Yeah.
And I also want to point out that I go through the same thing.
Yeah.
It's not that I just think someone else should do that, but the fact is that I walk in those shoes as well.
It's maybe the lead into a topic I would love to talk about, which is in coaching school, which you and I were peers in 10 plus years ago.
Oh boy.
There was a bit of, it isn't personal. You are, it's not your issue, it's not your topic, you are the instrument. And a big part of me agrees with that. And then there's a part of me that does not agree with that because it does affect us. We're not machines. And the beauty of the work that you and I are doing is that we are affected and we affect each other. The key that I found to remember is that we both have choice. Both parties who meet to do work together have choice to decide how, when, in which way the connection will affect us.
Right.
And I think that piece I'd love to highlight more. This piece of personal freedom, personal choice, because often, particularly in the field that you work in, where people come with severe pain, when we are in pain, the idea of choice is often the farthest away we could ever imagine it to be, right?
Yeah, indeed it is. Yeah. I think part of I guess let me speak first of how I am emotionally involved with people.
Yeah.
In that I do speak about pain, and I do want others to know that there is a difference that they can do in their life to change that pain, but also that when I say get up and change your posture, I know that that works for me. So I know it's going to work for you. So when I tell you or suggest something or question something, it's because I do know that you have that answer. But I know that sometimes we need to have that light turned on for you to get that answer.
Yes. Yes.
So that's where my emotions are connected into our time together. And I do understand that what coaching school was saying, that, you know, everybody has their own answer and we're just there to be a partner and to guide them. But for me to be able to have to take my emotion or my interest out of it, that's not who I am.
Yeah.
So, and I don't believe that's who you are.
Correct.
So I think that to have our sensitivity will help us move through things.
Yeah.
I guess that's what I wanted to say.
So the first thing I want to recognize is the power of seeing self, knowing who we are as individuals, and then the gift of seeing one another in our authentic way of being. What a gift that is.
You have such a beautiful way of putting words and the eloquence in your vocabulary and in your presentation. I love it. I love talking to you.
I love language, and I recognize that language is a way to navigate our world.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about communicating to other people. It's also how we speak to ourselves. And many of your Facebook posts speak to the power of speaking to self, and our body always listens very, very carefully.
Very
and takes any cues we give it and acts accordingly. So I agree. There is absolutely the piece, and that I had to learn over many years, not just in this profession but also in my life, is to not take on somebody else's pain. And for people who are empathic in this line of work, it's easy to absorb because we so much want to help, and to recognize that that's not the way to help.
Right.
It does not take their pain away, it just adds it to us. And so we actually expand the pain rather than transforming it.
Right.
And I think that's where the piece of the coach being a mirror, being an instrument for transformation for the client is absolutely true. And to not make their topic ours, but to allow ourselves to be reflective with them. Because I found, and I'm sure you finding it too, is whatever topic a client brings has a message for us as practitioners as well.
Absolutely.
And it helps us personally, and it helps us then not just with this individual, but also with the next person coming through the door.
Right, right. It's all a lesson.
And I think
for everyone.
Yeah, and I think that's the beauty of humanity, connecting in a way that's real and true and attentive and present.
Present. That's an important piece. I believe that that's what we're all exhibiting and craving now through COVID.
Yes.
Not even just a coaching relationship, but most people need that contact with people, and most people thrive in that contact. And when it's void, there's an emptiness that we're feeling, and I think that it gives us more time to search our souls as to what we do need and what we're not willing to tolerate any longer.
Right. talking about a powerful choice to make, to not be willing to tolerate any longer.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be seen as pushing something away, or it can be seen as opening to a whole different way of tolerating and embracing. And in a world where embracing is not as commonly available as we thought it was, how can we embrace ourselves? How can we embrace each other wherever we are in any given moment?
I think for me, I understand that through this challenge that we have, it's teaching us patience for ourselves and for other things, which leads into tolerance of what we're going to tolerate or what we're not willing to any longer. And I really love that you spoke of presence, because when we are in our form of have to get to work, have to get the kids, have to get dinner, have to do this, have to do that, oh yeah, hi, kiss honey, and oh, good night, that's not being present. That's making the motions of the everyday needs of what humans need.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that this has slowed us down, and I do know that sometimes it has gone to the other end, that it's too much presence. But if you can separate that and really look at the gift that is in our hands,
Yes.
I think that changes a lot of how too muchness can be.
As I'm listening to you, the question comes to mind: can we spoil with presence? Can we overdo it truly with being present? And the big piece that I had to recognize is how presence and patience that you mentioned a moment ago are so closely linked together, and how we can't offer that to anyone if we don't offer it to ourselves.
Yeah.
And I remember being in that rat race of gotta get the kids, gotta get the groceries, gotta, and how exhausting that was, and how it did not honor me as an individual, and did not honor the people I claimed to love the most. And that disconnect, do you know what made me sign up for coaching school?
What's that?
I had read a book, and I have to, I hope the author forgives me, I don't remember the title or the author of the book. It was a professional coach who had written a book. And about coaching, about transforming your life. And one exercise within that book was to write a list of your highest values, your most truest priorities, and rank them. And the part 2 of that exercise was to write a list of how you were living these values and rank them honestly. And what totally floored me was my 2 lists were complete opposite of each other. Complete opposite. And that was the wake-up call for me to take some stock of what I was advertising was important to me, and what I was living.
Mm-hmm.
And what an eye-opener that was.
Yeah. I can certainly see how that would be. And that's the part about being patient.
Yes.
And being present.
Talk to me
and
about
forgiving.
Yes. That is kind of I think the next step in the patience and presence, almost like a trio, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where in order to forgive, we have to stop for a moment and recognize what's the story we keep telling ourselves about ourselves and about the others involved in the story.
Right.
And to decide, do we want to continue that same script and recreate the hurt and the pain and the disappointment and the whatever other emotions come up, guilt, shame, you name it.
Oh boy.
Or do we choose a different route?
Yeah. Isn't the former, isn't that the true definition of insanity?
Yes, to keep
Doing the same thing and expecting a different outcome.
Yes.
And we all fall into that
Right.
until we become present to be aware of what we really are doing
Yes.
in the stories and
Yes.
in the language that we use. We can have the same experience, but change the language, the whole experience changes.
Exactly. Yeah. Not coming originally from the United States, again, language for me is fascinating because it opened literally a whole new world for me.
Oh, boy.
Coming here. I had English in school, but it was not everyday English the way that you need it in order to live in the country that speaks that language. And as you were talking about what we keep repeating to ourselves, it brought to mind that in my culture, in German tradition, in my era at least growing up, there is a certain value placed on being steadfast in your conviction. And that changing your mind about something that is a particular way is challenging for that culture, is the way that I experienced it at least.
Sure. There's no wiggle room.
There's no wiggle room. And
No
so
flexibility.
not only are we dealing with an unfortunate story script that we keep reliving, we're also potentially struggling with, well, if I change my mind, then who am I? If I decide to look at the situation, this person, and myself differently, am I leaving something behind that's maybe not pleasant, but familiar?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I think-
And also, I think what would fall into that is how many people am I going to disappoint
Yes.
by challenging what they have taught me and what they have stood for all of my life?
Exactly.
How dare I change that script?
Yes, and it was interesting as you were talking, my throat closed up for a moment. It's this, can I speak my truth and still be loved
Yeah.
and still be accepted?
I think that is always a struggle for a lot of us. But I think that by having conversations like this
Mm-hmm.
and having the the relationship
Yes.
like this,
Yes.
that's when change happens. That's when you can see there is a possibility. And that's all you need. You just need that crack in the door to know that light is shining and I can go to it.
Exactly.
And I have support in that. You know, we always feel, and COVID has really cemented this for us, that we're isolated, that we're alone. But I feel that things like this, and this will reach people to hear that they're not alone. We do not have to do this alone.
Yes.
And I certainly don't know what your religious beliefs are. I'm not a Catholic, so I don't have big religious beliefs. But I am so soulful.
Yes.
And that is where I draw strength.
Yes.
And I think that we have to feel something is bigger than we are to be able to communicate to ourselves that we can keep on going.
Yes. I think that's a wonderful note to close this segment of conversation. To be continued.
Uh-huh.
Do you agree?
I do. You bring out the intimacy of me, and I appreciate that from you.
And the intimacy piece is exactly, I think, what humanity is recognizing being valuable. That, yes, we can connect through a screen, and yes, we can wave to each other from afar. The meaning behind it, the feeling connected, feeling seen, feeling heard, that's what matters. The technology is the gadget that makes it possible. The connection is what feeds our souls and our hearts and our minds and our whole beings.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Yes. So thank you, Gail, for this conversation. We'll have many more.
Thank you. Great. I look forward to that.
Thank you.